Okay, so we're in game one of our competitive league. Game one, match one, and I am on the play. This hand feels like a trap hand. I don't really have a good turn one, but I do have a good turn two, so I'm going to go ahead and keep this, especially playing against a deck that I don't know. Hopefully, they don't lead off with any Inquisitions or Thoughtseizes on their turn. Keep our hand nice and flush, and hopefully we draw into either another land or a 0-drop creature to make our turn two a little bit better. So we're going to lead off with Springleaf Drum, Mox Opal, so they don't Inquisition away anything, and then we're just going to pass. Generally, when I have things, when I have no mana to activate, I just skip through my opponent's turn, just F6, because no real reason to hold up my clock any longer than it should be. So Arid Mesa into Stopping Ground to Faithless Looting makes me think we're playing against some form of Dredge, and Stinkweed Imp kind of confirms that. So we drew a land. So our play can be play Vault Scourge and then play Master Therium or Steel Overseer. I think because we're up against Dredge that doesn't have that much removal, I think we play the Steel Overseer to maximize on counters in our deck, or counters on our creatures. So we're going to lead off with the Vault Scourge and then play a Steel Overseer and pass the turn. Bloodstained fetch. What you got? Cathartic Reunion is good news for us. It means we're not gonna lose our Steel Overseer activation. Arcbound Number will be a 2. If we draw a land, we can also play Master Therium and get in with a lot of points with Vault Scourge. Boom, just like that. So we're gonna play our Arcbound Ravager, and then play our Master Therium, then activate our Steel Overseer, then swing for 3 with our Vault Scourge. Narcomoeba is hit off of their ooh, and 3 prize amalgams. Holy mother! I'm glad we had this this explosive start. So they dredged Stinkweed Imp and hit 3 prize amalgams and a Narcomoeba, which is pretty good for them. And there's a Conflagrate in their graveyard as well. I guess we should just pop this out, seeing as we care more about what they're doing over here. They can Conflagrate for a bunch here. Dealing 3 damage to Arcbound Ravager and 3 damage to Steel Overseer. So I just sacrifice the Steel Overseer, make it a 4/4, and let the 3 damage resolve. I think 3, 4, 5, 6, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think if I draw an artifact here, I win if they don't block Inkmoth Nexus, which is unlikely, but you never know. So Springleaf Drum is definitely a good draw here. We can play Springleaf Drum, activate Inkmoth Nexus, and offer them, see if they want to block Inkmoth Nexus. I'm going to tap Mox Opal here because I don't think I'm going to swing with Arcbound Ravager. Just Vault Scourge and Inkmoth Nexus. Just keep my Master Therium and Arcbound Ravager back. They have another Conflagrate, but they have 0 cards in hand, so I'm not too worried about it. Oh, and my opponent concedes. Okay. Against Dredge, Nihil Spellbomb is good here. Rest in Peace would be much better. Edge Champion is fine. Some number of Dispatch is fine. And I don't think I want Claim to Fame or Wear and Tear. So I think we take out 2 Master Theriums. We kind of keep our mana curve the same. 2 Master Theriums for 2 Etched Champions. We can probably shave we can probably shave a Thoughtcast or two for a Dispatch and a Spellbomb. And we can probably trim a Memnite for the second Dispatch. So I think this is fine. We're reducing our colored spells so that way we can keep a little riskier hands and not have to worry about colored mana. Playing one Thoughtcast lets us draw some cards after we've dumped our hand out, hopefully, and Etch Champion blocks for days. So I think this is fine for now. We could also bring in Slumber Denial for any sort of removal spells, but I don't think that's what we want to be doing in this matchup. I think we want to beat the aggressor, not the controller, especially because we don't have enough control pieces against this deck to really play that role. So we're going to do these 5 for these 5 and try it out. So this hand is very mediocre. One more land would be awesome here. I think the odds of drawing a land or a mana source is high, but if Springleaf Drum is our mana source, then we're kind of just taking the turn off to do nothing. I think I'm willing to take those odds, seeing as we're up a game and we're on the draw. So let's go ahead and keep this hand. Faithful Suiting for our opponent. Discarding Prized Amalgam and Dackmore. Salvage. And Spire of Industry lets us do cool things on our turn 2. So we're just going to lead off with Blinkmoth Nexus to make sure it doesn't have Summoning Sickness in case that's the route we want to go with on turn 2. And cast 2 Ornithopters. So we have 2 damage on board. And then next turn we get to play Steel Overseer or Arcbound Ravager or both. Well, probably not both. Right? Yeah, not both. So a good card off the top here would be a Mox Opal so that we can untap and just play Master Ethereum and crash in for some damage. Ancient Grudge was milled off of our opponent. I guess it's a good time to note that when playing against Dredge, you hopefully get to prepare a little bit more for their sideboard, seeing as you get to see a lot of cards that come in and out. So they have an Ancient Grudge, and we drew a Welding Jar, which is super good. Hopefully they don't have another piece of removal, like a 1-mana removal spell in their hand. But I'm just going to lead with this Steel Overseer. Oops. And I accidentally paid life for that. So yeah, we're just going to lead off with the Steel Overseer and pass the turn. No need to trade my Signal Pest for Narcomoebas here. Swings for 3. We'll take it. My guess is that they're going to hold up the mana and try to fire off Ancient Grudge on my upkeep or something. Put some lands in their hand, which is great. They're going to shock for this, get 2 Bloodghast back. And then we're just going to Welding Jar this because this will just get out of hand and in our favor here. And because they did it on their turn, means we get to drop our Arcbound Ravager and then pump the team, which makes it a little bit better. Arcbound Ravager gets 2 counters instead of just 1. And Cranial Plating is a good draw, but we need 1 more mana to really make it effective. So that we can play it and equip it in the same turn. So we're just going to play Arcbound Ravager here because Steel Overseer. I'm at 16 and they have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 damage on board. So it puts me at 7. I don't think they're going to attack with their Narcomoebas, but they will for sure attack with their dudes that come back from the graveyard. So I guess next turn I'm for sure going to be taking 7, which will put me at 9. This is going to be kind of a tough call. Maybe Maybe I don't swing a Signal Pest this turn and leave it so that it's big enough to survive a double Narcomoeba block. I think I'm just going to swing with my Ornithopters here and leave Signal Pest, Steel Overseer, and Arcbound Avenger back. I'm not totally sold that this is the right play. Or I guess Steel Overseer is going to be tapped. I'm not sold that this is the right play, but I think this could end up pretty well for us. Our Signal Pest will live through a double Narcomoeba block. Hopefully he doesn't rip another Narcomoeba off of one of his mills. Looks like he has a Faithless Looting in his graveyard, so he could mill some more. Collective Brutality is a card we need to be worried about. He does have, I think he has a fetch land in his hand. Cast Life Alone, Blackleaf Cliff, Stomping Ground, Scalding Tarn. So he has a Blackleaf Cliff and a Scalding Tarn in his hand. So possible for him to play a Scalding Tarn and then attack two Narco. So he's at 15. Next turn we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 damage on board. More if we get Master Therium out. But if he blocks two things, that might be a little problematic to really finish the game off. So we got a Black Source. He's casting a Stinkweed Imp. Okay. And he's at 12. And we have... Okay. So he still has... So we have one more flyer than he does. Okay. Yeah. That is unfortunate. Misclick. So if we activate Blinkmoth Nexus here and go... Activate Blinkmoth Nexus. Blinkmoth Nexus swings for 3. Ornithopters swing for 3. Signal Pest swings for 2. And Arcbound Avenger swings for not enough to get through. So then we have 4 flyers. Ravager gets 3, 4. And he blocks 3 creatures in the sky. Presumably my 3-drop, my 3s. So it's Ornithopter, and Blinkmoth Nexus. So we have Signal Pest coming in for 2, and Arcbound Avenger can go up to 3, 4. Ravager for Signal Pest for 2. Ravager will be at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's not totally lethal. I think if we give him another turn, I think we need to get rid of those Narcomoebas. So I think the best play is not to do anything in my combat phase. This situation would have been a little different if I had a Master Therium into play, but I misclicked, which is just something that happens every once in a while. I think that my side of the board is good right now. Barring another Stinkweed Imp or another Narcomoeba, I think we're in a good shape here. So, Insolent Neonate, I'm going to draw us a card here. He discards Haunted Dead, which is an issue. Huh. So that is the 4th flyer, isn't it? Yep. So he had a Narcomoeba in his hand. He's going to get a Prize Amalgam back. He gets his Haunted Dead with a Spirit Token. I forgot to activate Seal Overseer, didn't I? Bad magic will be bad magic. It's fine. So I think we don't do anything here. I'm just going to play the Springleaf Drum. And I'm going to pass the turn again without activating my Steel Overseer to keep a blocker up, although it should be bigger because I'm a misplayer here. So if I attack with Signal Pest and 2 Ornithopters, means he has to block, I believe. Yeah, he has to block all 3 if he wants to live. He has 2 mana open. None of them are black, so I'm not expecting like Fatal Push. He could just be playing Lightning Bolt. Lightning Axe is also a card he plays, which can be brutal. So he has to block if I attack with all 3 of these, right? And pump Steel Overseer. And then I'm left with 3 creatures left to block, which means he can get in for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh, misplays of the days. I think we're just gonna play Cranial Plating here to set up our next turn, and then just ship it along. I think this is a pretty poor spot to be in now, and we've probably lost this game already. It just kind of, if our opponent misplays, then we'll probably, hopefully get back, but that's very unlikely at this point. And casts Ancient Grudge, targeting the Cranial Plating, which we'll just sacrifice into the Arcbound Damager. Not really sure why Ancient Grudge, the Cranial Plating there, doesn't really seem to be that effective, assuming it doesn't have like a super crazy turn here. Because he can attack with a lot of creatures here, and I'd be forced to block. His Bloodghasts just die. His Prize Amalgams die, which means he gets in with, so that's 2, that's 4. I can probably block the Haunted Dead, but I'm not really wanting to. Probably get in for 5 damage in the air, and I probably wouldn't stop him. Ah, dang it. Alright, I've missed 2 Steel Overseer triggers. At this point, my opponent probably just thinks I'm trolling. I'm just going to cast this for a black and 1. I'm going to pass the turn again and see what happens. And try not to forget my Steel Overseer trigger again. And there's Dark Blast, which I guess doesn't really do too much. Only gives -1/-1. And a lot of my things are bigger. He can play an Ancient Grudge to blow up my Master Ethereum, and then play Dark Blast, I guess. Oh yeah, totally, that works. I don't mind this list, I suppose. There wasn't any artifacts. Aether Grid, I guess, takes care of their 1/1s, or their 2/1s also. Which could be fine. I think I'm going to put the Medmite in back on the play and take out the Thoughtcast to just be a little more aggressive. And I think we'll try it like that. Alright, on the play. Let's click on yes. This hand is kind of a trap hand, but at the same time, I don't really know how they can... I guess like Dark Blast actually doesn't really do anything here. So I think we're going to keep this one and just hope to draw good cards off of the top. So we can go Inkmoth Nexus, Springleaf Drum, Mox Opal, Ornithopter, Cranial Plating. We lead with the Inkmoth Nexus here so that it doesn't have Summoning Sickness when we try to attack with it equipped to a Cranial Plating next turn. And I think that's 1, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Infect on turn 2. Which is pretty good. Play this. Always play your Springleaf Drum first if you don't know that as an Affinity player. Then play your creature, so that way you don't get blown out and you can make mana. We're just going to drop this Cranial Plating. And we're going to pass the turn. Tap land is really good for us. Another cranial plating. So we can play a cranial plating and equip to an ornithopter. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that'd be 14 damage. 14 damage or 7 infect seems kind of like the same thing. But I do like the 14 damage one just a little bit more. Gives us backup. We're going to equip here, tapping this mana. We're going to equip here, tapping this mana. We'll get him for 14. Put our opponent down to 6. Next turn, we can put the cranial plating on, put 1 cranial plating on Ornithopter and 1 on Ornithopter. So that way we don't, or Ornithopter 1, Ornithopter 2. That way we don't get blown out by destroy target creature. I think this game is over. I could be wrong though. We'll see what our opponent does. Yeah. And that is match 1. We'll see you in match 2.